From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. Since Churchill made that speech, the world has changed dramatically, especially here between the Baltic, the Adriatic, and also the Black Sea, where a new partnership has descended known as the Three Seas Initiative. The Three Seas is made up of diverse EU member states. Their stories are unique, but they all have one chapter in common. For half a century, they were closed off from the rest of Europe by the Iron Curtain. We can still see the effect of that today. While Western European nations are deeply intertwined through energy and transport links, the nations of the Three Seas remain relatively disconnected from each other. But we are now writing a new chapter together in which millions will benefit from new investments and smarter connectivity. In fact, the Three Seas region has already become a driving force for economic growth in Europe, outperforming the EU average by 67% over recent years. To turbocharge that growth, the Three Seas is now combining its political will and economic might to significantly improve its energy, transport, and digital infrastructure. Their focus is on smart connectivity to create new opportunities for future innovations. That includes improving data exchange to make more efficient use of information. By taking decisive action now, the Three Seas will continue to drive economic growth in Europe and strengthen both our competitiveness and our relationships across the world in this chapter and beyond.
Hello and warm welcome from Tallinn, Estonia. For the second day, we are allowed to go maskless here in Estonia, and this has generated much new optimism and energy. And I hope this has also channeled this energy to our discussion here at the first Three Seas Parliamentary Forum. My name is Neeme Raud. I'm an international affairs correspondent and journalist, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. Our forum is broadcast live via the Three Seas Initiative homepage, Facebook and YouTube, and we welcome also your remarks and comments via Twitter. But to avoid a common problem during this era of virtual meetings, too long and wordy introductions, I will turn right away to the initiator of today's meeting, the President of Riigikogu Estonian Parliament, Mr Jüri Ratas, who will fill us in on why this new format is an important addition to the Three Seas Initiative. Mr Ratas, please.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to greet you from Tallinn at the first ever Three Seas Parliamentary Forum. I am glad that so many of you could join me today. Your participation highlights the importance of the Three Seas Initiative to our countries. This is a historic moment, and we have come a long way since the presidents of Poland and Croatia first launched the initiative 5 years ago. The initiative brings together 12 EU member states who border the Baltic, Black and Adriatic Seas. We are a very diverse region, but share one very important and tragic chapter in our history. The Iron Curtain, which split Europe in two. It did not only hinder the unity, but also cause difference in terms of economic growth and development of the infrastructure. Over the past 30 years, the Three Seas countries have achieved spectacular success. The common economic and customs space of the European Union has paved the way for the stable development of the continent as a whole. Still, we are ready to tackle the remaining shortcomings in terms of economic disbalance and old infrastructure. We are considered the fastest growing region in Europe for a reason. This is what the Three Seas initiative has been created for. We must concentrate our efforts on attracting public and private investments to increase connectivity in the transport, energy, and digital sectors. Regional economic development will increase the social cohesion and resilience of the European Union, thus strengthening our regional security. To fulfill this objective, we have jointly chosen almost 80 priority projects that will help connect the Baltic, Black, and Adriatic Seas. The Three Seas initiative is not only about developing connectivity, but doing so in a manner that is based on democratic values, free market economy, trust, and transparency. We are grateful for the support of our strategic partners, the United States, Germany, and of course, European Commission. Democratic countries rely on dynamic private sector. The Three Seas initiative is an excellent tool for using the strength of international public-private partnership to develop connectivity and thereby our economies. An essential and growing role in overcoming this infrastructure gap is played by the Three Seas Initiative Investment Fund. It is a unique financial vehicle that brings together public and private capital to address our infrastructure development needs. It is politically driven, but fully commercial operated. The fund has made impressive progress. Dear friends, nine Three Seas member states have joined the fund, and its total capital is reaching 1 billion euros. The fund has made its first investments into Polish railway company, cargo unit, and Estonian greenery data centers. These investments decisions illustrate the initiative's underlying goal for a greener and smarter future, EU. We must focus now on attracting private investors. Throughout 2020, Estonia oversaw the developments of the Three Seas initiative, focusing on consolidation of the initiative and increasing practical cooperation. It is more focused and has a strong emphasis on practical deliverables and financing priority interconnection projects. To keep up this momentum, on the road to Sofia Summit this July, I have invited you to this meeting today to discuss for the first time the role of parliaments in this process. Today's forum provides an excellent opportunity to reconfirm our country's commitment to the format of jointly reflect further on the added value parliaments can bring. In my mind, the answer is twofold. Firstly, we can bring the initiative and its goals closer to our citizens and stakeholders. In many of our countries, the Three Seas initiative is still relatively unknown to the general public. It is essential to raise awareness in order to introduce the initiative to potential investors. As members of the parliaments, we have a unique opportunity to reach our citizens directly. And secondly, it is in the competence of parliaments to further enhance the necessary and appropriate legislative environment and business-friendly climate. We need to facilitate the implementation of our priority projects together. Cross-border cooperation is essential in reducing the administrative burden and making the process of investing in connectivity projects as smooth as possible for investors. I look forward to hearing your views at today's forum. Thank you for joining me to kick off parliamentary level cooperation in the Three Seas initiative. I really hope it will become an annual event in the Three Seas calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jüri Ratas. I do have some questions for you, but as a host, you'll be wrapping up our meeting later, so I will save the questions for later. But let's start now our conversation that will take us to Central and Eastern Europe and also to the United States. And our first speaker is from Poland, Ms. Elżbieta Witek, Marshal of the Sejm of the Polish Republic. Our virtual floor is yours.
Dear speakers of the Parliament, dear friends of the Free Seas Initiative, I'm very happy to have this meeting today. My warmest thanks go to President of the Riigikogu, Mr Jüri Ratas, for this initiative. It is a tangible example of the keen interest in cooperation within the framework of Free CI, one of the most ambitious contemporary regional projects. Today, we have gained the unprecedented opportunity to discuss it among heads of parliaments. So we see the birth of the parliamentary dimension of Free CI. Back in 2015, when Poland was crafting the idea of strengthening the position of the countries of the eastern part of the EU, we hoped that this line of thinking would prove attractive to the regional partners, capable of gaining their trust and commitment. We are gratified to see that this initiative turned out to be true. In 2016, with support from Croatia and acceptance from other countries of the region, the Free CI became reality. And in subsequent years, it transformed into a vast space of development and integration opportunities, something that began back in 2015 as a shared vision of 12 countries, today constitutes one of the most ambitious geopolitical projects of our time. During the second summit of Free CI in Warsaw 2017, President Andrzej Duda emphasized that cooperation under the initiative is meant to offer three thrusts for Europe: a modernizing one, an integrating one, and a unifying one. Today, from the perspective of almost 5 years, we are able to confirm that the three thrusts actively shape our actions. From the very moment of the adoption of the Dubrovnik Declaration, the Free Seas Initiative keeps sending a unifying message throughout Europe, for we succeeded with the idea of regional cooperation in binding together the countries of Central and Eastern Europe that belong to the European Union. Countries that are relatively new members of the EU, but with enormous development potential. At present, ladies and gentlemen, the unifying thrust of a Free CI has an even further outreach. There is a growing interest in the initiatives among the external partners, the US, Japan, the United Kingdom, Greece, Finland, or Cyprus. We are also open to close cooperation with our nearest neighbors, in particular Ukraine, Moldova, and the countries of Western Balkans. The implementation of joint initiatives with partners aspiring for EU membership will be an important contribution of our countries to the process of European integration. The integrative thrust of Free CI cooperation also means bonding our countries through a network of various communication links, transportation, energy, and the digital links. Such connections are simply insufficient at present in Central and Eastern Europe, and this deficit significantly hinders the dynamic development of our economies. The International Monetary Fund estimates that in order to catch up with Western Europe, our region needs investments amounting to approximately 600 billion euro. This is a huge effort which may prove unaffordable for individual countries, but undertaken together, it can yield progress and development. The modernization thrust of the Free CI primarily relates to its economic dimension, modernization of economies, development of new technologies, together with a digital and information technology area. However, I would also like to draw your attention to the fact that modernization in the framework of 3CI also represents an innovative approach to regional cooperation, which is undoubtedly a value added in the whole initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, at present, indeed, we need to raise awareness of the importance of a 3Cs initiative. It is a major challenge now. It is very important to forge such positive associations with the 3CI among our citizens. It is an excellent space for the work of the parliamentary diplomacy. The activities of parliamentarians manifested through various forms of cooperation are by far more flexible than the conventional government diplomacy, and as a result, they become a very valuable tool for promoting 3CI domestically and internationally. That is why I would like to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to take joint parliamentary action to increase the visibility, the profile of the initiative. We should support our governments taking concrete steps to show that the 3Cs initiative is developing and encompassing new spheres of life in order not to remain only in the declarative domain. Let me draw your attention to several initiatives which create or may create in the future effective tools for the parliamentary cooperation of the 3CI. The intensification of contacts between our countries is evidenced by the numerous meeting formats attended by representatives of our countries, the 3CI summits, the Business Forum, or the Forum of the Regions. Against this background, organizing a dialogue at parliamentary level seems almost indispensable, a natural complement to the excellent political cooperation at the level of presidents and the practical cooperation at the level of intergovernmental coordinators. I trust that the 3CI Parliamentary Forum will become a permanent item in our calendars, and that today's meeting is the very beginning of a regular series of meetings in this distinguished group. In addition to meetings at the level of speakers of parliament, committee contacts seem to be an excellent tool for parliamentary cooperation, as they are yet another tool for building sectoral dialogue. We are hearing expressions of great interest in this kind of cooperation from foreign affairs committees of our parliaments. We do not wish to remain indifferent to this untapped potential, and we would like to encourage you to hold joint meetings. In this respect, increasingly popular online formula of meetings may prove to be particularly helpful. The same Committee of Foreign Affairs is intending to organize such a meeting early in September this year. Moreover, an interesting complement to the contacts of the Foreign Affairs committees could be cooperation of those sectoral committees which converge in the scope of their activities with the three areas defined in the framework of the 3CI. Such collaboration could be would create an invaluable sectoral communication channel supporting governments and ministries in their actions. The 3CI is a future-oriented concept, therefore we need to involve the young generation in building a better future. We welcome all initiatives to promote contacts among the people. One of these is the new Collegium Intermarium, inaugurated last week, an international academic institution which aims to be a true free university of Central Europe. Furthermore, in recent weeks, an idea was born among Polish members of parliament to create a dedicated forum for dialogue and cooperation between young parliamentarians from the countries which are part of 3CI. I feel that this project will be very valuable in terms of building political capital for the future, and It is also a splendid addition to the catalogue of instruments for raising the profile of Free CI. I would like to warmly encourage you to get involved in this venture and to encourage delegation of young parliamentarians representing your respective chambers to attend this very first meeting, which could be held in Warsaw. Recently, there has been also lively discussion about the establishment of a Free CI Secretariat. This demonstrates the need for permanent communication between partners and is a guide as to the direction of our cooperation. I would like to bring to your attention the idea of establishing contact points also in our parliaments, either by creating a secretariat responsible for the flow of information, or at least through parliamentary bodies already engaged in cooperation with the initiative. Doing so will make it possible to speed up and improve the exchange of information, and perhaps in future to coordinate the joint activities of our parliaments in the areas that are the subject of our shared interest. In this regard, I'm thinking of the ambitions, undoubtedly valuable as they are, to create a mechanism for national parliaments of the Free CI countries to consult each other on European Union legislation. This would allow us to coordinate our positions. Ladies and gentlemen, through cooperation between our parliaments and the cooperation of our members, we can provide a significant thrust to set new course of action in the framework of Free CI. I sincerely hope that the proposals I have presented will inspire interest. Finally, I wish you fruitful deliberations and many valuable conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Switek. And if I may, here is a question to you from Tallinn to summarize your presentation. How does Free CI help Poland, in your opinion?
Polska jako kraj, który...
Well, Poland is a country which initiated the idea, is very much interested in seeing approval and acceptance for this initiative. We have many problems in the EU and we can help each other, but to be able to help each other, we speak with one voice. And one country may not be enough, not enough of a strong voice. So the more countries join, then for Poland and for the other countries of the three cities, it is certainly going to be beneficial.
Thank you very much. And from Poland, we go to the United States. Mr. Adam Kinzinger, member of the United States House of Representatives from the great state of Illinois, has a floor now from the United States. Please.
Today with some solid, amazing friends. I only wish we could be in person. If you were in Chicago, we could get you some deep dish pizza. If I was in Europe, you could show me some good beer there. But look, it is an honor to be here with you. I was going to talk a little just about the benefits of 3Cs. I'll touch on that. But I think everybody knows them. This is a great program. This is a great opportunity to continue with integration of free people, to push back against malign influence. And I think it needs to be promoted. But one of the things I want to mention, you know, I'm sitting here in the middle of Illinois, in the middle of the United States, which is generally protected by two oceans. And so I would say we're relatively safe from an external attack. But it brings up 2 points. Number one, the dynamic has changed. The threats sometimes can be just in misinformation and in a lack of hope and a lack of opportunity. If somebody doesn't have hope or opportunity, they're more apt to buy into conspiracy theories and a destabilizing force. And that's where things like the 3Cs initiative, Eastern Europe recognition, working together to give people more hope and opportunity, to integrate with energy, with telecom, can be beneficial in pushing back against both misinformation and against hopelessness that we've seen so much of. But I also recognize that my good friends that I'm talking to right now, all of you, are on the front lines of the fight for freedom. In some cases, in fields that we aren't. I remember being in Latvia and with an exercise, a joint exercise between US and Latvian land forces. And I remember being in Poland, watching the new railway and riding on it and feeling how smooth it was and seeing all the increases. But, I realized, like, if you look back to what is it that tore down the Iron Curtain, a lot of times we talk about military power, we talk about US and Europe's posture in Europe, and certainly that was important. But I think the biggest thing, and many of you that understand, you were alive and you remember this, I believe the biggest thing that took down authoritarianism in Europe, that took down communism, was the third generation of people behind an Iron Curtain that said we've had enough, that said we deserve better as a people. They saw the images from the United States coming in and knew what freedom looked like. They knew what was happening to their friends and families. They knew what a lack of opportunity was. And I think that's something that 30 years later we can't forget. Because sometimes I think we can be a little lazy in our defense of democracy. We can be a little lazy in our understanding that there still are threats out there. Look, quite honestly, we look at the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It's an attempt by Russia to continue to keep Europe energy reliant on them. We see the predatory practices of the Chinese Communist Party. How do we push back against that? Again, it's hope and opportunity. And as the opening speaker mentioned, he talked a little about the role of government. And he rightly recognized that there has been a major change in how we understand our role as government. It's to help facilitate some expenditures. But we're not out to create debt traps like we see from the Chinese Communist Party. We're out to give people hope. Because we know when you have freedom and opportunity, hope always wins. And that's what the 3 Cs initiative is all about. This whole thing was created not as a way to do anything but give people that hope, to begin to continue to integrate Eastern Europe with Western Europe as friends, understanding the difficulties that came from 30 years ago, to be able to leverage a real desire for outside money to invest in future projects. I mean, we all know, and many of us who have studied the economy understand, there is a lot of pent-up demand for investment that can be leveraged in this. But it is essential for us as legislators to go out and to promote this, to find the people willing to make the investment, to defend it. At a time when, coming off of COVID, national budgets are challenged, we could easily just, bring in the tents and say everybody else can deal with their own problems. But we know through history, and Europe knows all too well through history, that when you turn and look in, you forget your friends, you walk away, it never ends up how you think it will. And you'll never end up saving money in the long run. So what's very important to me is to say, instead of going through all the details of it, because you all know it, I appreciate, as an American, and I can tell you it's not just me saying this, I speak on behalf personally of 700,000 Americans, but I also know my friends in Congress that agree with me. We love you all. You guys are very important to us. You play a very important role for America, just like we play a very important role for you. And we stand with you in this challenge. We stand with you in this difficult time. And we stand with you in investments in the 3 Cs initiative. I know you've seen a lot of TV, and I know you're aware that Congress doesn't always get along. But the 3 Cs initiative does have significant transatlantic support. So last Congress, Representative Capter and I, we introduced a bipartisan resolution in support of this initiative. This resolution, believe it or not, passed unanimously. Nobody voted against it. That's not easy to do nowadays. But we know that more has to be done. Since President Biden came to office, we've been working with the administration to ensure that our commitment to the 3 Cs initiative is not only upheld, but it's also strengthened. Additionally, we introduced the Transatlantic Telecommunications Security Act, which would provide support to develop and install non-CCP technology to protect our shared values. The fight for our democracy does not end after an election. Rather, we must every day fight to strengthen and protect those freedoms that so many have sacrificed defending. My grandfather, by the way, right after Normandy, came on the beaches of Normandy, and he fought in the Black Forest, and never could talk about his experience in the war. My grandfather died in 2003, actually as the US was in the middle of the invasion of Iraq. I can tell you I'm a military officer, I'm a pilot, I'm a veteran of the Iraq War. And not until I became that veteran did I understand what my grandfather went through. But my grandfather gave a lot of his peace up. He survived to bring a free Europe. And I can tell you, I'm not about, from my capacity, to let that sacrifice go to waste. We will never be the first generation to leave our kids a country or a community or a continent worse off than we inherited. So again, I want to thank Speaker Ratas for the invitation to address you all. I only wish we could be in person, and I hope we can continue to work together to protect our shared values through this very important 3 Cs initiative.
Thank you very much, Congressman. I have 2 short questions for you, if you will. First, is the 3 Cs initiative a new Marshall Plan for Europe? I'm referring to the economic aid the US provided to Europe after World War II. Is there some similarities?
Well, I believe there could be some similarities. Of course, on scale, it's not. Of course, on just a straight government investment, it's not. But I think in terms of the goals and what it could potentially be, I certainly think it could be. The difficulties when I was in Latvia, for instance, and we were talking about the defense of the Eastern Front, and you recognize the difficulty in transportation and telecommunication and energy. We have a real opportunity to revolutionize and change, and frankly, change the balance of power if this is done correctly. So I wouldn't compare it to the Marshall Plan on the scale, but I would compare it to the Marshall Plan on the intent, and I hope it only grows from here. And that's why our job to promote this is so very important.
And the second question, does this initiative reflect some ways also global ambitions of the United States vis-a-vis China? Are there any similarities to the format 17+1 that promotes the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative in our region in Europe and the 3 Cs initiative?
So look, freedom-loving countries around the world have a choice to make. I think the Chinese Communist Party has made it clear that they also want to be a superpower. They're 1.5 billion people. They've been investing in their military, and they've been giving a lot of money away. But that money comes with strings to everybody that takes it. It feels good at the front end until you got to pay the bills, and then they own your infrastructure. And so we have an option. As freedom-loving folks, we can do the same thing. And I think to an extent we can and should. But I also think it's providing that initiative for the free market to come in and to invest in that infrastructure. Because I got to tell you, sir, when the free market comes in and people have that hope and opportunity, there is no communism or government promise that can ever overtake it.
Thank you very much, Congressman from great state of Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger. Up next is Mr. Joe Phillips, the head of the 3 Cs Initiative Investment Fund. But first, let's watch a short video on the fund.
The 3 Cs Initiative Investment Fund is an ambitious partnership between the public and private sectors supporting the development of Europe's fastest-growing region. Located between the Baltic, Adriatic, and Black Seas, these 12 EU countries are home to 111 million people. Their economic growth has outperformed the EU average by 67% in recent years. But they need better connections and smarter infrastructure to meet their growing needs. These projects can be funded from different sources: state budgets, EU funds, private equity, and also investment funds. These countries have now combined their economic might and political will through the 3 Cs Initiative, which inspired the 3 Cs Initiative Investment Fund. The fund is supporting profitable cross-border infrastructure projects in the energy, transport, and digital sectors. This isn't just raising prosperity in the region, but also improving cohesion and helping drive growth for the whole continent, while contributing to a cleaner, greener future. This complements the EU's existing growth strategies and carbon-neutral targets. It's also aligned with the best international practices for how to leverage private capital investment into infrastructure development based on high standards of transparency. The 3 Cs Initiative Investment Fund is open to both public and private sector investors, ranging from national and international finance institutions to pension funds and private equity funds. It has the potential to raise 3 to 5 billion euros in capital and has already received significant strategic support from the 3Cs initiative participating countries and financing from across the region and around the world. But politicians don't decide where the money goes. All investments are managed according to the best commercial practices and selected based on their economic potential through a transparent process. The fund is advised by Amber Infrastructure Group, an independent international investment manager. The 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund aims to be a model for growth around the world by showing how partnership between the public and private sectors can finance large-scale cross-border infrastructure development in a commercially profitable way. And it's already working. The first investments by the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund are currently underway, and more will follow. Learn more about the 3Cs Initiative and the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund.
That was a short introduction to the 3Cs Investment Fund. And now the presentation of the head of this fund, Mr. Joe Phillips, please.
Good afternoon. First of all, may I thank the Estonian Parliament for hosting this Parliamentary Forum for the 3Cs Initiative and the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. My name is Joe Phillips, and I am part of the investment team at Amber Infrastructure. Amber Infrastructure was appointed as the investment advisor to the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund in February 2020. The fund's objective is to make a commercial return from equity investments in infrastructure projects in the region within 3 sectors: energy, transport, and digital infrastructure. These investments are either greenfield or existing assets that require significant capital expenditure. In every case, they will bring benefits to the 3Cs region. That may be through improved connectivity, by narrowing the infrastructure gap with the rest of the EU, delivering energy transition, or ensuring energy security. I like to think of the fund as politically inspired but commercially driven. The fund size is presently just under €1 billion, and we have a target of 3 to 5 billion, and a 5-year window in which to invest this money. As investment advisor, our role is to find potential investments, determine which to progress with into investments once made. We have about 150 infrastructure investment professionals in 11 offices around the world, and as part of our commitment to the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund, we have opened offices in Warsaw, Prague, and Vienna. We manage 7 infrastructure funds with a track record dating back prior to 2006, when we launched what is today a €3 billion plus global fund listed on the London Stock Exchange. In addition to that first fund, we manage a number of specialized funds focused in sectors including energy efficiency and digital infrastructure. We have originated and managed over 150 investments over our long history, and a third of those have been greenfield opportunities, which is a particular specialty of Amber Infrastructure Group. So why is there a need for the fund? There is a very significant infrastructure gap between the 3Cs region and the rest of the EU. A recent spot data report estimates this as being greater than 500 billion between now and 2030 for the 3 sectors covered by the fund. I personally think that this is an underestimate. Not only is there a significant infrastructure gap, there is also a disparity in the availability and cost of private capital, both debt and equity, between the region and the rest of the EU. Notwithstanding this, it is clear that the region should be attractive to investors. There is very significant public capital, both EU and government, available for infrastructure, but the availability of private capital compared to the rest of the EU is much less. There is no doubt the need for infrastructure far exceeds the available public capital. It is important to increase the total capital available if this infrastructure gap is to be eradicated. The fund is important. It is an initiative to begin a process that demonstrates that private capital can deliver infrastructure in the region in a way which is both attractive to investors and cost-effective for the people of the region. It is important to recognise that it will not replace public funding, but will become part of the funding solution for new infrastructure. The intention of the fund is to broaden the capital available and to ensure that it is provided at an efficient cost to the ultimate users of the new infrastructure. In just over a year since we were appointed, the fund has deployed over 440 million of equity in 3 investments. The first investment was made in November 2020 in Cargo Unit. Cargo Unit is the largest lessor of locomotives in Poland. It has a particular specialty in providing locomotives for freight. Its asset base provides a solid platform for expanding and modernizing the fleet through the acquisition of modern mainline locomotives, as well as potential international expansion into surrounding 3 Seas countries. Backed by the fund, Cargo Unit will be an important player in the modernization of the rail infrastructure in the region, improving connectivity and delivering efficient, low-emission locomotives for the freight market. The second investment was made in December 2020 in Greenergy. Greenergy is a data center platform, with the initial investment being the acquisition of a greenfield data center in Tallinn, which is due to become operational later this year. The Tallinn data center will be the largest and most advanced in the Baltic states. The intention is to expand through the construction of similar data centers in the broader region. Digital infrastructure should play an important role in the continued economic growth of the region. I believe that there is real opportunity to reverse the brain drain from the region to the major European cities through the provision of high-quality digital infrastructure. The pandemic has shown us that we do not all need to be office-based all of the time. I think it is also the case that the brain drain from rural areas to urban areas may also be slowed in this way. The third investment was made only a few days ago in Enery, a renewable energy platform and independent power producer led by a team with an established track record in acquiring and developing solar generation assets. Enery owns 86 megawatts of operating solar assets located in the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Bulgaria, and is planning to expand its solar portfolio through its greenfield development pipeline, which is in excess of 2 gigawatts. The fund is, through Enery, financing the development of a utility-scale renewable generator as part of the energy transition in the region. Together with debt capital, this will take the total investment delivered by the fund in these 3 investments to just over 1.2 billion euros. There are 2 important points to note. First, the fund itself has a multiplier effect because of the debt that is normally deployed alongside its equity investment. The debt is generally between 50 and 70% of the capital required for a project, with equity providing the balance. The second is that even at the fund's target of 3 to 5 billion, the total capital deployed is small compared to the need. However, it is undoubtedly the case that as the fund makes its investments, other private capital will also begin to perceive the region as investable. There's some evidence that this is already the case in a number of 3 Seas countries, in particular Poland and the Czech Republic. This brings 2 benefits. More capital will be available for infrastructure investment, and the cost of that capital will be lower than it is today in the region. Private capital is not necessarily a replacement for government and EU funding. It can be complementary. My favourite way to illustrate this is in the rail sector. It's normally the case that in Europe, the funding of track and signalling is provided by public funds, including European Union funding. In the 3 Seas region, there are significant rail investments underway which will modernise the networks, improve connectivity and help to make rail transport more efficient. Moving freight from road to rail is also an important reason for such investment. In Poland alone, there is a 13 billion euro rail upgrade underway, which will see over 50% of the railway network upgraded. However, these upgrades require the modernisation of the locomotives and wagons that operate on the networks. It's here that private capital can play a complementary role by financing the modern low-emission locomotives that can operate across borders. This is one of the main reasons the fund made its investment in Cargo Unit. It's a great example of public and private capital working together to deliver tangible benefits, both economically and from an emissions perspective. So what can parliamentarians do to support the objectives behind the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund? There are a number of things. First of all, help to ensure that the region remains open to private investment. Private investment in infrastructure is not the only way to fund new investment, but it does have a place in the funding mix, as been demonstrated in other parts of the EU. Ensure that there is clarity around legislation which determines who may own critical infrastructure in the region. The identity of the owners of such assets and the source of their capital is important. As infrastructure programs are considered by parliamentaries, it would be helpful to consider how private capital can work alongside public capital to narrow the infrastructure gap. It's important to ensure a consistent approach long term to regulation and procurement. And when changes are contemplated, please consider the impact on private capital. And finally, increase the funds that are available for 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund as it begins to improve its ability to deliver. To date, 9 countries have invested. Poland has led the way with an investment of 750 million euros, with each of the others investing around 20 million euros. Increasing the capital available to the fund as it demonstrates its ability to deliver capital expenditure for core infrastructure in the short term would be helpful. Essentially, the region is attractive to investors, or should be. There is significant positive GDP growth expected, and the need for new infrastructure is clear. In fact, in such areas as digital infrastructure, there may be opportunities to accelerate economic growth. The region needs to deliver a strong message that infrastructure development is a core part of its economic growth plan, and that the plans for this are coordinated across the region to deliver the maximum impact from each investment. The fund, working with governments, is a critical piece of the puzzle that has the potential to bring significant private capital into the region in a way which is complementary to public funding, and it is at an efficient cost of capital to ensure the ultimate users of the infrastructure has good value for money. I have worked in infrastructure for over 30 years. When I started in the sector, it was not yet recognized as an asset class for private investment. Such private capital now plays an increasingly important role in delivering world-class infrastructure in many EU countries. I see incredible opportunity for government, EU and private capital to work together in this region to remove the infrastructure gap. I'm very proud to be part of the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund and would like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, and a few questions to you. In your view, could parliamentarians and parliaments have some kind of role in raising the awareness about the fund in countries, partner countries, who could be seen as possible investors to the fund?
I think the answer to that is undoubtedly yes. I think what is important is awareness of the fund, its objectives, and its successes to date. And I think it is always going to be helpful if parliamentarians in the region do 2 things. One is remember that it exists and that it's there to provide capital when they're considering how to fund infrastructure projects in the region. And secondly, to broadcast that message more broadly around the EU and other partner countries.
So the investment fund is supporting several projects. On what criteria will the projects be chosen?
So as has been said by a number of the speakers, this is a commercially driven fund. Our objective is to make a commercial equity return for the investors in the fund. In doing that, we are focused on also providing better connectivity in the region, energy transition and energy security. So I think it's a combination of things. We have to see that the projects are viable, that they can make a return, that they're profitable, and that they are going to deliver on those other requirements of the fund, which revolve around essentially narrowing the infrastructure gap with the rest of the EU. So from our perspective, it's purely a commercial decision. It's like any other investment that we would make anywhere else in the world. And I think it's very important that we demonstrate that we can be successful in doing that from both an investment perspective, but also delivering the infrastructure on the ground at very high quality and very useful to the users, the populace in the region. So I think that's the easiest way I can describe it. It's a commercial decision.
But at the same time, we know that the fund has also, as the US congressman just underlined, a very important geopolitical reason to be. So how these geopolitics are involved in the investment decisions?
At an investment decision level, I think the geopolitics are less important. What is important is that the fund's investment criteria take into account the aspirations and needs of the region in terms of connectivity. And I think they are fully aligned with the geopolitical aspirations. So north to south connectivity is very important. Digital connectivity is very important. Digital security and energy security are very important. So these are baked into the fund's investment objectives, and they reflect the geopolitical requirements of the region.
And finally, the US has important role in this fund, but at the same time, we know that the EU has a major role in leading cross-border infrastructure projects in the region. How the US and the EU can work together in this fund?
I think it's very important that they do work together in this fund. On the US side, the US Development Finance Corporation has publicly announced that it is potentially able to support the fund. So I think that's a real positive. I think we are hopeful that EU institutions, the development finance institutions, the EU will find ways to support the fund, either by investing in the fund or providing debt capital to the investments that we make. But I think it's important that we all work together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillips, the head of the
Thank you.
Free Seas Investment Initiative Fund. And now the real fireworks. Speakers of parliaments from major countries in our region who are participating in this Free Sea Initiative. First, we go to Czech Republics, Mr. Radek Vondracek, President of the Chamber of Deputies. From there.
Hello, everybody. Many greetings from Czech capital, Prague. On the beginning, I have to apologize myself because we are in the middle of the session, an extraordinary session, and we will vote for non-confidence of government. I did not expect it, I did not predict it, but I also didn't want to cancel my participation on this forum because I'm a great supporter of Three Seas initiative, because almost 3 years ago, on behalf of Czech President Miloš Zeman, I participated on forum in Bucharest, and I'm quite well aware about the priorities, goals, and all agenda of this initiative. So I'm sorry I cannot stay to the end of this forum, and I hope I have to go back to main hall and to join the debate. But first of all, I want to thank Mr. Ratas for organizing this event and for the opportunity to engage Parliament in enhancing the Three Seas initiatives. I also want to thank for the presentation of Mr. Phillips. I hope the presentation will be available for other members of Parliament. By the way, within 2 weeks, we will vote for a new law in Czech Republic, and it will be about taxation of solar and other renewable energies in the Czech Republic. I think it's very interesting information because of this investment in solar energy in the Czech Republic. Well, this event, from my point of view, supposed to be about the potential role of parliaments in Three Seas initiatives. And because, to be honest, I'm sure that most of people in Czech Republic, most of citizens are not aware of these three Cs initiatives. So parliaments are a place of discussion. So from my point of view, our role is to discuss, to educate, to exchange information about our priorities, and to get involved more members of parliament to agenda of three Cs initiatives. Mrs. Elżbieta Witek inspired me. We will discuss which committee, which member of parliament will focus on this agenda. And it's really important because we have 4 months to elections, to parliamentary elections. So you can imagine that it's very hard to debate and discuss anything in some constructive way in Czech parliament right now. I'm convinced that three Cs initiatives can have direct impact on the daily lives of people in all our countries. And if I can introduce you very shortly the Czech position, I can, because I have almost no time left. But so at the end, I would like to appreciate the commitment of the United States, because after many years alongside security policy and NATO membership, the project, the three Cs initiatives, provides a visible and concrete opportunity to develop the Transatlantic partnership. And at the very end, we hope that after the post-COVID consolidation of public finance, the government will be able to announce our decision about the financial contribution by the Czech Republic. So my time is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wondracek. Thank you for taking time and addressing our forum here on that important day in Czech Parliament. But now we are going to Hungary. Mr. Laszlo Kövér is Speaker of the National Assembly there. You have the floor.
This is the English translation. Thank you very much for the floor, and I would like to cordially greet all my colleagues and all the invited persons who are all sharing their own considerations and enriching the thoughts of us politicians. We very much welcome the initiative by the chairmanship that from the very outset has been something that we have supported, which wants to make a more and more practical use of this cooperation. And now there is yet another platform, parliamentary dimension that we can add to this work, for which we, I think, owe our gratitude to Mr. Jüri Ratas from the Estonian Parliament. Hungary has always been a dedicated supporter, as I've said, of the Three Cs initiative, just as we have always supported any cooperation that furthers the work between peoples and countries of this region. And this has been the case since the start of the change of the political system in 1990. This or that, many of these initiatives were in state of limbo. Some of them are living their renaissance, for example, the Visegrad cooperation. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the Three Cs initiative will live up to the challenges of time. During the course of our history, we either became parts of different empires, or like it happened after World War I, different empires managed to put us on two sides of this fence here in Central Europe. Or like it happened after World War II, we found ourselves in the Soviet sphere of interest and found ourselves completely isolated from one another. And it is the legacy of this that has to be food for thought. For us to preserve our sovereignty, to strengthen our sovereignty, we need to cooperate with one another in order to really add our forces, to multiply our forces, and to become partners for anybody outside of this region. This kind of cooperation, in our mind, should not be directed against anybody. Therefore, it can be compatible with other formats of integration, with other frameworks of cooperation. It can actually complement those. It can actually link to those. It can actually create synergies with those. And this is where I need to mention that we believe we need to be open to cooperation with our southern and with our eastern neighbors. Because if we want to promote the cooperation in this region, it cannot concentrate itself it cannot focus to member states of the European Union or those who are members of the European Union at this moment, because we hope that the European Union project is an ongoing one. The Three Seas initiative is an encouraging initiative, but its long-term success can only be guaranteed by creating a transparent portfolio of geographically well spread and balanced projects that can be a good incentive for investors from inside and outside of the region. And I think for visibility, we really have to work towards them. Just as Mr. Vondracek has said, I completely agree with him. Our citizens perhaps do not have to be most preoccupied with the Three Seas initiative. What they really need to grasp is what's behind this initiative. The raison d'etre, the fact that here in Central Europe we are culturally and historically and in all other ways linked to one another. So therefore we need to also draw our relations closer economically. Because my time is up also, I just want to echo the words of Madam Elżbieta Witek. I believe that the contribution of Parliament to this project, to the success of this project, can really be realized through our different sectoral committees. So for any concrete issue to be discussed, that should primarily be done not at the level of speakers, successfully of course, or at the level of the plenary, but let's say, for example, at the level of our European Union Affairs Committees, Foreign Affairs Committees, Economic Affairs Committees. So if this parliamentary format is going to be supported among parliaments of the Three Seas initiative, I would suggest that we task our national parliament sectoral committees to work on these. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kover. And you are watching the first Three Seas Parliamentary Forum hosted by Mr. Jüri Ratas, the President of Estonian Parliament from Tallinn. And now we are going to hear our southern neighbors from Estonia. First of all, we go to Latvia. Ms. Inara Murniece is a speaker of the Seima in Latvia, and the word to Riga now.
Dear colleagues, let me start by thanking Speaker Jüri Ratas and Estonia for organizing this first parliamentary forum. I agree that it is the right time for us parliamentarians to engage more actively in the shaping and implementing the Three Seas initiative. We should work together to better connect the vast region of the Baltic, Adriatic and Black Sea by developing its transport, energy and digital infrastructures. The involvement of parliamentarians can provide the initiative with more visibility and sustainability. I would like to briefly touch upon 3 points. Firstly, the initiative should bring concrete, visible results to our people. Secondly, it should complement the EU actions in the region. And finally, this initiative should enhance our transatlantic relationship. A few words about our parliament. In Latvia, there have been initial discussions in the relevant parliamentary committee and its Foreign Affairs Committee about the aims and added value of the initiative. Our parliamentarians have focused on opportunities in addressing the challenges of connectivity in the region, enhancing its growth and prosperity in concrete terms. We expect the initiative to be also among the topics of discussion at the meeting of the President of Latvia with the leaders of parliamentary groups in Riga next week. Indeed, the implementation of strategic large-scale projects in the sectors of energy, transport and digital communication depends on solid political commitment and open dialogue with the private sector as well. The initiative should bring concrete results to attain public support. The projects implemented within the initiative should contribute to the growth and prosperity of the region. For that, we have already established a well-targeted tool, the investment fund. The funding allocated to the fund by the participating countries proves our true political commitment to working together in the long run. Furthermore, I trust that the success of the initiative lies in more active involvement of Germany, the European Commission, as well as international financial institutions. The investment fund gives us flexible financial tool to complement the EU financial strategies in the implementation of concrete connectivity projects. It should be used smartly, avoiding any overlapping, and therefore we would gain a lot from strategic discussions on how the three Cs initiative could be better connected with the EU policies and strategies. Finally, the 3Cs initiative provides us with excellent opportunity to reinforce our transatlantic bond with the United States. The initiative may serve as another format for building closer ties of political dialogue and economic cooperation with our transatlantic partners. And it's up to us to maintain an active dialogue with United States Congress to encourage them to strengthen their political and financial support. The continuous involvement of the United States would give us further encouragement and contribute to strengthening security in our region. Dear colleagues, let's work together to bring the idea of 3Cs initiative closer to our people. And thank you.
From Latvia, we go to Lithuania. Ms. Viktorija Čmilytė-Nielsen is speaker of the Seimas there. Please.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank my esteemed colleague Jüri Ratas for the idea to organize the first 3Cs Initiative Parliamentary Forum. I would also like to congratulate Estonia on its successful coordination of the initiative in 2020. The Estonian presidency has made significant progress in this format and worked proactively to ensure that as many 3Cs initiative countries as possible join the investment fund. As a consequence, the 3Cs initiative fund has grown to include 9 countries. I would like to stress that Lithuania views the 3Cs format as a valuable regional initiative to strengthen mutual cooperation, enhance connectivity and economic security in our region, as well as accelerate cohesion in the EU and deepen its strategic relations to the United States. Lithuania has confirmed its commitment to the 3Cs initiative and its goals by adopting the decision to join the investment fund by investing 20 million euros. On 29 January 2020, Lithuania completed all the necessary procedures and became a full-fledged member of 3Cs initiative. Although the 3Cs initiative is primarily a regional initiative, the involvement and support of our strategic partners, the European Commission, the United States, and Germany, are of utmost importance. We regard the transatlantic relationship as an important added value and benefit of the initiative. We see the 3Cs initiative as an opportunity to strengthen the economies of the US allies in the region, help lessen region's reliance on Russian energy, imports and China's growing influence, thereby strengthening the resilience of our countries. Interconnectivity is needed to eliminate infrastructural gaps and energy and transport and ensure complementary cohesion and convergence within the EU. We believe that the future of the 3Cs region is to become a smart region that is carbon-free, digitalized, and well integrated within the European Union. The list of 3Cs interconnection priority projects currently includes 9 projects proposed by Lithuania. 6 projects were included in 2018 2 were added in 2020 and 1 project included in 2021. We intend to present yet another pilot project on hydrogen production from electricity. Lithuania is also involved in 3 projects that have been proposed by other countries. All of these projects are of strategic importance to Lithuania, and their implementation is critical for the development of our country. It is also important for Europe as a whole. Traditionally, focus has been given to the East-West integration. In the context of today's realities, the north-south direction of the continent is equally as important. Although the Three Seas initiative has started as an initiative at presidential level, it is obvious that projects of such scale and importance cannot be implemented without the broad national involvement of each country's government and community. The parliamentary cooperation, therefore, is of irreplaceable value, not only when it comes to ensuring an initiative-friendly legislative environment, which will be necessary, but above all to gaining broad public support and involvement. Let me note that Seimas of the Republic of Lithuania discussed the participation of Lithuania in the Three Seas initiative and concluded that Parliament could bring an extra value to the collaboration. That is why it was decided to set up a parliamentary group responsible for the Three Seas initiative at the parliamentary level. So, once again, let me thank Estonia for this timely initiative, and I am convinced that today's debate will demonstrate that we can do together at the parliamentary level even more for the success of this project. Thank you so much.
Our next speakers are from Slovenia and Romania, and in these countries the parliaments have 2 chambers, and we are happy that we'll be joined by the heads of both chambers in this discussion. First, to Slovenia, Mr. Igor Sorgic is President of the National Assembly of Romania.
Okay, do we hear each other? Yes. Dear Mr. Ratas, dear colleague, allow me to begin by thanking you for the invitation and the organization of the first virtual Three Seas Parliamentary Forum. Esteemed colleagues, I am pleased that today we have opened a debate on the role of parliaments in the context of the Three Seas initiative. From the point of view of the Republic of Slovenia, participation in the Three Seas initiative is an important instrument for achieving our foreign policy ambitions. Why? Because it identifies, among others, the need to liaise with groups and individual member states of the European Union with similar interests, as well as to strengthen cooperation with the neighboring countries, Central European countries, and the United States. Slovenia supports such regional cooperation and stresses the importance of dialogue between the member states of the initiative in the fields of economic investment, transport connectivity, energy infrastructure, and digital communication, which, after all, it has also proved by joining the Three Seas Initiative Fund. I was actively following our country's participation in the activities undertaken under the initiative already during the previous term of the National Assembly, when I was the chair of the Committee on Infrastructure, Environment and Special Planning. Moreover, the National Assembly has already discussed some of the projects which Slovenia made public and sent to the Three Seas Initiative Fund for review. We are convinced that the implementation of these projects will have a significant impact on development, improving not only the economic potential of individual member states, but also the quality of life of their residents. I'm confident, dear colleagues, that given the prominence that the Three Seas initiative has gained in recent years and the extent of the strategic infrastructure projects discussed by the member states, we all agree that the initiative needs and deserves a wider public support. I believe that we parliamentarians, as representatives of the people, have an exceptional opportunity and a duty to present to the electorate and the public the common goals of the initiative and the benefits it brings in greater detail. Parliaments and parliamentarians are indeed the representative voice of the citizens, which is why I also believe that establishment of the 3Cs Parliamentary Forum should be seen as an additional opportunity to raise awareness among voters about the projects and their added value in the region, while also offering them the chance to express their views their own. At the same time, the Parliamentary Forum could provide parliamentarians with a crucial window of opportunity to communicate the information gathered to a wider political and social arena, both nationally and internationally, and hence garner a widespread support. Dear President, ladies and gentlemen, we have the chance to devise the 3Cs Parliamentary Forum so as to serve as a useful tool in promoting the progress and development of strategically important projects in our region. The contributions of parliaments may prove instrumental for broader collective reflection. In the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, we will pay heed to any proposals for further cooperation between the 3Cs Parliamentary Forum and will discuss them accordingly. On top of that, we are ready to continue the dialogue between the parliaments of the member states of the initiative should there be mutual interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sorgic, President of the National Assembly of Slovenia. And as I understand, in the same room, you have also Mr. Aljoš Kovša, President of the National Council of Slovenia. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Mr. Jüri Ratas, dear fellow presidents of the parliaments of the partner countries, honored other high guests, I am pleased to be able to address this distinguished assembly on behalf of the second chamber of the Slovenian Parliament, the National Council of the Republic of Slovenia. More than that, I am pleased that the 3Cs initiative has slowly and steadily grown from a political declaration initiative to a strong economic and development initiative, and that this outline has been obtained at the very last session of the summit here in Slovenia, Brdo. What is more, I estimate that because of its flexibility and mobility, it has become a part of the global debate, which was also its original purpose. I'm aware that integration, which promotes regional dialogue and at the same time strengthens the Transatlantic alliance, must be based on the concrete development priorities, such as additional investment in the economy, transport connectivity, investment in energy infrastructure, and the development of digital communications. According to the above, for the Republic of Slovenia, participation in the 3Cs initiative is one of the means of implementing the foreign and economic policy strategy of Republic of Slovenia, especially in cooperation with the EU or EU's so-called Green Deal. By actively participating in the initiative, Slovenia announces that it is a reliable member of the Transatlantic Alliance. Cooperation in the economic field, including the strengthening of transport links, has a special place in this regard. For Slovenia, as a country with limited economic potential, but with an excellent geostrategic location, such a form of integration is crucial. And we already have 6 strong priority infrastructure projects registered, which will be revised meaningfully in line with the interests of the partner countries. I see the major development acceleration of the initiative in the very establishment of the investment facility, where we have contributed 23 million euros through the Slovenian Export and Development Bank, which is thus becoming the central financial pillar for the co-financing of infrastructure projects in the region, which we need together. A good indicator of development will be the increased financial investment by a private capital, because it is difficult to imagine the realization of projects without an established public-private relationship. It is an important platform which strengthens political contacts by north-south geopolitical axis and which in the long term brings energy stability and quality transport routes into the region. By upgrading the platform to form business forums, such a strategic orientation is transformed into an operational form, which is extremely important in these pandemic and post-pandemic times. I join the majority of opinion that the informal organization of both the summit and the business forum will continue to be preserved. Let it therefore stand as a platform that allows cooperation to be strengthened and promotes the implementation of the member states' priority strategic projects through the business. Initiatives to enlarge the partnership through the acceptance of new members, such as Greece, are welcome, of course. Thank you for your attention.
And now we are heading to Romania. Ms. Anca Dana Dragu is President of the Romanian Senate. And we are experiencing a slight technical difficulty with our connection with Romania. And let's try our second speaker from Bucharest. Mr. Ludovic Orban is President of the Chamber of Deputies from there.
Dear colleagues, I'm honored to meet you today, and I congratulate President Jüri Ratas for hosting this first 3Cs Parliamentary Forum. The points of view already expressed confirm once again the importance of parliamentary support for major international projects by directly involving the legislative branch in their advancement. The 3Cs initiative has enjoyed solid political support from the beginning and has been complemented since the summit in Bucharest by a number of well-adapted tools. It is a pleasure to learn that our partners continue to keep high on agenda their participation within the initiative. Also, for my country, our common objectives and the implementation of our projects remain strategic priorities. In this line, during my mandate as Prime Minister of Romania, I wanted to better observe the way in which the initiative's objectives are accomplished, and thus I reorganized and gave a new impetus to the specialized working group established at the level of Romanian government. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking about the importance of our cooperation, first of all, I would like to make a few remarks on the economic dimension. The initiative is a needs-driven platform. It aims to address the development gap between EU member states through increased interconnectivity in transport, energy, and digital fields. Increased cooperation of these projects will have an important multiplying effect. It will contribute to our economic recovery and our strategic resilience. The results could lead to job creation and long-term growth. The involvement of the private sector is an essential condition for the initiative's success, and therefore the private investors and the initiative's business forum play a special role. The forum provides opportunities for dialogue between governments and business sectors, contributing to an increased cooperation among the businesses, communities, governments, European and financial institutions. Esteemed audience, as regards the Initiative Investment Fund, we hope that the focus on this instrument will be on the key interconnectivity projects that our region needs. For Romania, the Danube River and the Black Sea represent one integrated connectivity asset and must be addressed as such within the widened political narrative in the 3Cs initiative and in the framework of the Euro-Atlantic Connectivity Dialogue. We pay special attention to the implementation of two projects in the field of infrastructure that are of outstanding economic importance and strategic value for us and for the region, Rail to Sea and Via Carpathia. The implementation of these key regional projects will contribute to improving both the regional military mobility and the infrastructure resilience. In the current regional circumstances, strengthening the connectivity between the north and the south of NATO's eastern flank represents a critical element in the consolidation of the Allied defense and defense posture. In this respect, the Three Seas initiative represents an example of positive transatlantic cooperation that benefited from the US support and involvement from the very beginning. Dear colleagues, as parliamentarians, we should contribute to a better communication on this subject with our citizens. By doing this, we contribute for a better understanding of the initiative and its goal at community level. Also, we should promote the initiative in the dialogue we have with the European and American counterparts. All our action could bring forward important ideas with the view to advance the implementation of relevant projects for the region. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Orban. And let's go back now to Ms. Anca Dana Dragu, the President of the Senate of Romania.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I apologize for the technical difficulty. Dear colleagues, distinguished participants, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this first virtual Parliamentarian Forum for the Three Seas initiatives. The presence of such high-level speakers reaffirms our strong commitment to this initiative and to the progress we are making towards enhancing intra-regional and cross-border cooperation, as well as connectivity among the EU member states between the Baltic Sea, the Adriatic Sea, and the Black Sea. My special thanks go to Jüri Ratas, President of the Parliament of Estonia, for driving this initiative forward and for strengthening both our bilateral and our regional cooperation. We are here to promote a dialogue on the Three Seas initiative at the parliamentarian level and thus complete the cooperation and the dialogue between our presidents, our governments, and between our business communities. I want to underline the full support of the Romanian Senate in drafting legislative proposals that can further stimulate trade relations, flows of capital, and develop important cross-border projects. The global pandemic has shown us the importance of connecting to one to another, both at the personal level and at the national level. Now, as we are nearing the end of the pandemic and our efforts are focused on ensuring a swift economic recovery, increasing the connectivity and cooperation between our states is the most important. This will allow for a better distribution of necessary resources, whether we are talking about goods, services, or capital, wherever and whenever they are needed. For Romania, the Three Seas initiative's objectives and the implementation of its projects represent strategic priorities mentioned as such in our government's program. Our political will is accompanied by the support of the business community. In this context, the Three Seas Initiative's Business Forum plays a special role as a platform for dialogue with the business community. This dialogue can translate into new partnership, new ideas for projects that will contribute to the region's development and, of course, in new investments in the region. I firmly believe that our partnership is going to grow stronger as more of our citizens become aware of the initiative and of the projects promoted and prioritized by it. Only together, in full support of one to another, we can generate important ideas and contribute to a better life and future for our citizens. I was very happy to see that all my predecessor speakers have underlined the strong support of the parliaments for the 3Cs initiative. And this is for me a strong message that this initiative is going to become a full project, a fully fledged implemented project. Thank you very much for this event.
It has been really impressive journey through Eastern and Central Europe, and also United States was participant in today's meeting. And our virtual meeting is about to conclude. For final thoughts, here is the President of Estonian Riigikogu, Estonian Parliament, Mr Jüri Ratas again.
Dear colleagues, like Neeme said, I agree that it was last 2 hours really nice, fruitful, and very lovely journey with you. I am so happy. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your views with me on the possible contribution of parliaments to the 3Cs initiative process. The 3Cs initiative is much needed in order to concentrate our common efforts as a region on investing in large-scale cross-border connectivity, both physical and digital. We must be united on the level of presidents, governments, and of course also parliaments to best work towards achieving our common goals. I would just like to point out some of the ideas expressed today, which I picked up right away. As it was pointed out today, it is important to rely more on new digital solutions and cooperation platforms to enhance and foster development. I warmly welcome the idea of today's forum becoming an annual event. I would like also to highlight the ideas that were presented regarding the possibility to expand our dialogue regarding the 3Cs initiative between the Economic and Foreign Relations Committees of Parliaments. As said, the 3Cs investment fund can not cover all the investment needs of our region, but by setting a successful example, demonstrating that investing in our region is economically attractive, more investment outside the fund are likely to follow. I hope today's forum is only the beginning of fruitful cooperation between us. I would be glad, dear friends, I would be really glad if one of you, dear colleagues, would host the next Parliamentary Forum in order to follow up on all these ideas that were put on the table today. I look forward to working together to facilitate the implementation of 3C's priority projects and bring the initiative closer to our citizens. As in often the case, ambitious initiatives serve very simple but essential aims. In the end, the 3Cs initiative aims to improve the well-being of our societies and our citizens. Let's connect Europe together.
Thank you for these words. And to sum up, Mr. Ratas, once more, we heard this idea that many citizens in countries that participate in the 3Cs initiative are not aware of this initiative. So how can national parliaments really raise the awareness of the 3Cs initiative and the 3Cs fund among the populations and in their countries?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I think that the parliaments have the duty to have a control over the governments. I think we have also the duty to discuss the 3Cs initiative much more larger scale. What we did today, actually. And 3C is a complex enterprise. Parliament can be bridge between interest groups, between the societies, public and private partnership, and ensure that member states will stay on an agreed path. Thank you once more.
And also for me, thank you all for joining us in this discussion, in this virtual forum. The recording of the meeting can be accessed from now on the 3Cs Initiative homepage and also on the YouTube channel of Estonian Parliament. I do hope we will meet soon at the next 3Cs Parliamentary Forum, but for today, have a healthy beginning of your summer.